Hi, my name is Randhawa. I am founder and CEO of F3 Uranium.
Good to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're well. We're just going to talk today about F3 and maybe even F4, and just introduce that story to kind of bigger audience of investors, perhaps not invested in uranium quite yet. The question that they've been asking me is, how do you identify the companies which are actually going to be successful and going to win out and actually do that kind of growth story properly? So maybe can you just sort of give me a background on yourself and maybe the team?
Sure. Yeah. Our background is our strength. At the end of the day, whether you're investing in high tech or biotech, the first thing you look at people track records. Have they done this before? The exploration business is very risky business and it's hard to attract capital. But if you've got a track record of making discoveries, it's easier to raise money. And also exploration is very expensive. You've got to raise, in my view, at least 3 to 5 million, because drill holes up in Saskatchewan, Canada, cost quite a bit of money. So you need to raise a lot of money. And so, but good people can. We are very fortunate. Well, how we stand out different than the other exploration company is that we have made now 3 discoveries. The J zone back in fission energy days with SCU, the triple R, and now the JR zone that we have found within F3. So at the end of the day, an investor should always look at what have these guys done before, and are they well capitalized. We've got about 40 million in the bank, so we've got good people with money to work with as they go on to find other pods of uranium.
Right. And what do you think you guys need to do next? Okay, 3 sets of discoveries by the team that you just kind of talked about there, which is obviously good because we're seeing a lot of uranium juniors in the Athabasca Basin moving into prospect generation because they kind of worked out that discoveries are a little bit harder than they seem, right? So for you guys, your next move is what? You've got to make another discovery within the F3 camp. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you've got a pod, like these uranium discoveries generally come like pearls on a necklace. So the question is, where's the next pearl? Sometimes they're 50 meters apart. Sometimes they're 200-300 meters apart, and you don't know. And the other thing is, you could drill somewhere and be 5-10 meters off and you've missed it. These are very small pods. They're not like uranium, an example, in Africa. It's wide disseminated, it's low grade. And so you can drill every 50 meters and go, okay, that's good. We can keep, but you can't do that in the Athabasca. You have to be very careful and methodically every 10-20 meters stepping out. So, okay, we're in the right direction. They just move. So you have to be very careful about, you just can't, in fact, you almost have to drill one at a time because when you drill, you learn. So for us, we've made the one pod. We have to show we have another pod to show that we've got a system. When you have 2 or 3 pods, you have a system. And obviously when it comes to M&A work, people say, oh, okay, we see 2 pods discovered. Okay, maybe they have more pods on the system. And I guess it's over 100,000 hectares of land that we've got on PLN, which is a lot of land when you consider, you only need to be 100 meters by 150 meters to have 50 million pounds. You don't need a lot of land, and we've got a lot of land, but the amount of land you have in this industry doesn't matter. But what's more important, that land have conductors and faults and cross faults, because that's how you're going to find uranium.
But we kind of bring on to a good subject. When people talk about the big land package they've got, I'm thinking liability because you got to drill that thing out, and that costs lots and lots of money. So just talk me through the kind of first part. I mean, if you're drilling deep, that's super expensive. If you're drilling hundreds and hundreds of meters, that's super expensive drilling. Talk to me about what you found and what you know.
Sure. Well, the JR zone, we found it starts at 150 meters, more of it at 200. So it's fairly shallow. Not all discoveries are the same. It depends on the depth and the grade. We're averaging well over 2%. Again, we have to be careful what we say. I have to quote what other people say about us. So people are averaging around 2.3, 2.4% uranium, and they're giving any numbers from 16 million to 30 million pounds, right? That's kind of the guess, because they're guessing there's more systems to be found. So we have got to do more drilling to be able to put out a PEA and say we've got X number of pounds. So that'll happen. But our main focus isn't to right now to drill to figure how many pounds we have. We want to find more pods. So the JR zone is a great discovery. You know, you got uranium around 60% in certain slices, um, but it's wide. But we need to find more like it to show it's a system. So that's our strategy going forward. We found these. There's a large fault within the system, and we found these two cross faults, A1 and B1. They're the cross faults we're realizing now, and the question is, where is the next pod? That's the challenge on us.
Right. Okay. So far, I'm hearing it's shallow. It's pretty good grades. But the point is now you need the kind of scale component here, which everyone's
Exactly.
looking for. So in terms of how much money you spent or how much money you're gonna spend trying to find the next pod, because that's going to be the game changer for you.
Right. You raise money when you can, not when you have to. So we had about 5 million left. We've announced that we've got a bought deal done for 10, and I believe next week we'll close that, and we'll have another 10 million in. So we have roughly 40 million, and we'll talk about it later, but 15 million of that came from Denison. Denison is certainly a world leader, multi-billion-dollar company who had data access that the public doesn't have. And after they did some homework, they injected $15 million to have a bit of a footprint in the West. A lot of what Denison owns is at the unconformity and on the east. This is in the basement on the west.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. If you're getting up to like 40 million bucks, well, first of all, the Denison thing. I mean, not to be sniffed at. I mean, Dave Cates is nobody's fool.
Yeah.
They've what does this give them when it's strategic investment? It means different things to different people. What does that give them?
Well, I just gives them, it gives them exposure. At the end of the day, investors buy your stock not for what you've done, what you're going to do, and what you've done gives them credibility of what you say you're going to do. But at the end of the day, it's about a partnership for them and us. We also get to lean on them technically and saying, so our technical people will be able to go to their technical people says, hey, here's our plan, here's some ideas, how the whole key in finding uranium is trying to do tests of different types to learn without drilling. Drilling is extremely expensive. It can cost $250,000 to $500,000 a hole. That's why I said earlier, if you need to raise 5 million at least when you're out there, because that's 10 holes. Well, and all you're going to learn out of those 10 holes may be where not to look, right? It's very expensive, but that's the whole idea of being exploration. Our stocks beat up a bit here in this little, soft market we're still up 700% from where we were. So the reason investors should look at exploration companies is strictly the risk reward. Sure, buy a NextGen or a FCU, and that's a development company, and I had a chemical. But if you want to pick an exploration company, you should have that in your portfolio, simply the explosive nature of the rewards that you can get. But again, pick people who are well-funded, and number two, know what to do with the money. We are fortunate to have made a discovery at the unconformity. The unconformity is a technical name they use where the contact point is for the sandstone hits this hard rock. That's called the unconformity, like a sand, it's like a milkshake sitting on a rock. That's the unconformity. We've made a discovery right there. That's what Cigar Lake is. That's what MacArthur is. They're all deposits sitting at that contact point. We have found it in the basement. Now, JR is only 7 meters down. So we're not that far away from the unconformity. You want some explosive, fun in your portfolio, but just make sure they have done it before. We're the only ones that I know of that have done it twice before, and now definitely nobody else has found 3 discoveries before. And Ray, Sam, and previously Ross, it's unheard of to have 3 discoveries. So, I like the chances of giving them the ball, sort of, you would say, is give them, they've got $40 million to work with and a good project. So
Right, but can I ask you about just sticking with the money side of things for a bit if I can, because it's one of those things where you go, we'll say for the Denison Mines money, for instance, like that's a debenture, a 9% coupon over 5 years, quarterly over 5 years, right? You've got to be thinking either this is we're going to knock it out of the park because of what we know, because we'll need to take that out at some point, that convert at some point, or it's a calculated risk based on the data we
yeah,
already have. You've got form on this in terms
that's,
of bringing in
yeah,
unconventional money,
yeah,
and it's paid off in the past.
yeah.
What brings you this kind of certainty around this sort of deal structure?
Oh, that's a great question, and I think it's the art of the deal kind of a question of what it all depends on what your view of debentures are, what your view risk is. Like again, the key is raise money when you can, not when you have to. And when your back's against the wall, you're not going to get a good terms. We got good terms here. We had a delta 60 points. That's pretty good. It was in the 56. Stock was 38, and we got 56 cents. So that was pretty good. That's a sign that they believe in the brand. If and also with the tax laws changing in Canada in June, a disastrous move by the government, it's going to kill risk money. And we need risk money. But so we're doing, and that's another reason we decided to get it done in May before the new rules come in, because the delta will shrink to about 130, 140, not 160.
Yeah, let's not even talk about Canadian politics
Yeah.
and taxes,
Any
because
politics.
that was driving people insane. I just
Yeah.
got off the line taking a reasonably
Yeah.
financially wealthy individual. They're moving to Dubai.
Oh,
So that's how bad things are in Canada right
yeah.
now. Okay, so on the money, $40 million for the team have made discoveries. Are you kind of clear with them about what you're going to need to be able to kind of drive that story narrative in the market? I get that it's an amazing
Yeah.
time for uranium. We've got
It's
the
the
House and the
most
Senate.
amazing. Yeah.
It's most amazing, right? In fact, why don't you, given this is for an
Sure.
audience perhaps new
Well,
to,
yeah,
and why don't we talk about
sure.
the macro a bit? What can you
Yeah,
tell us?
and that is exactly it. Look, you know, there's no use talking about F3 if we don't talk about the need for energy, and unless we need clean energy. For the first time, I've been doing this since 1996. That's almost 30 years. Okay. Um, and for the first time, the Democrats, okay, are pro nuclear. They want energy. They want clean energy. They realize now the folly of renewables, how you put chase trillions of dollars down the way and it doesn't work. Germany's supposed to charge for that. So they want clean energy, and they know they're not going to get to net zero without it. The the folks on the right want security of supply. They don't trust Putin. They don't trust what he will do with his enrichment capacity. So, and just having Joe Biden sign that, it just tells you the left and the right see the need for clean power, and they see nuclear as being a part of that answer. To me, that's a bigger story. All these uranium stocks will rise, and also because uranium is a small part of a reactor, it can go from $100 here to 200, like that. And it's a good time for investors right now. Some of these stocks are trading what uranium was at $50. I've been in the uranium business from literally going back to 1996. And my first people who supported me were Rick Rule, Bob Bishop, and even Lucas Lundeen, or late Lucas Lundeen, encouraged me to be in it. I can tell you, until the last couple of years, be straight up, it was a very difficult sale to talk about, because people were thinking about what happened, in Chernobyl and stuff like that. And now the narrative has changed. Um, People realize the folly of renewables. The belief was that renewables were going to, solve the world problems. Germany is a classic example how it doesn't work, because man does not control how much wind you get and how much sun. We need base load power. It means you can turn it on up and down as you need. We need that. But the question is, where do you get it? Well, renewables don't provide that. So you got to go to fossil fuels, and that's what obviously the world wants to get away from. So nuclear is the only way, and the way we can get to net zero. We need nuclear power. I'm not saying it's the only answer. We need hydro and any solar we can get. We need it all, because it's not just a story for clean energy, it's a story for energy. You've got to work out Bitcoin. How much energy does it need? AI. How much energy does it need? Electric vehicles. The grid cannot handle some of these ambitions that the governments have. They realize now that if we want people to have electric cars, we have to triple the amount of energy by 2050. Well, where's that going to come from? Triple the energy. Personally, I think these things are said to get elected. Obviously, they're not realistic, and they're just trying to get power for the next 2 to 4 years. They don't really care what happens. So for the first time, we need power. We need clean power, and the people on the right want supply that they can security of, because they've seen what's happened to Poland and other places. When Russia can control that button, they want nothing to do with it. So for the first time I've been in this industry, the left and the right are both agreeing that nuclear power has a place. And that's why you're seeing what, the $3 billion that Joe Biden put into play. Jeez, I've never seen that before. So it's a perfect storm for nuclear power.
It certainly is. I mean, it's enough content there for us to have a weekly show, which we do. We talk about these wonderful things on the macro, driving all of this new interest in nuclear. But look, we're kind of running out of time here a little bit, and there's something I did want to talk to you about, Dev, which was with regards to the a potential spin out of F4. Is that happening? When's that happening? And why are you doing it?
It is, first of all, it's one so that we've got 16 projects, and these were handpicked over time. They've got no royalties on them. We want to give them attention. The best thing was to do is take them out and put them in another company. We're going to have another executive leading that charge, raising money, and etc. The technical choices will still be made. So we've also had a number of M&A talks with others. So we feel, let's get ready. What we're leaving in F3 are about 5 key projects around PLN. So that area is one, but everything northern Athabasca, south, the east will have its own company and focus to go there. We don't want us taking our eyes off the prize, right? But at the same time, these prizes are just sitting there and they should be developed. And F4 will come out of the chute with a great joint venture on Murphy. Somebody else will be funding it. So if you own a share of F3 on a certain record date coming up, we're just going through. The problem we have is these, compliance and red tape that you've got to go through with audit after audit after audit. One audit's late, it's a domino effect. So we're on top of that right now, trying to get the audits done so the filings are on time and so we can spin it out and get on with raising money, which is what we want to do.
Okay, well, I'm sure you'll be back on and tell us all about it when the time is right, and obviously good news for investors if that happens, or the F3 investors if that happens. Dave, appreciate it. I know you were short on time today. Nice introduction for newbies into F3. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.